Hello and welcome to Cheek's Will Ride. I'm Will Cheek. Today I'm actually not going to be riding anything, and that's because a couple people have asked me about my navigation setup, and so I'm going to give a little insight on about what I'm using. So if you're familiar with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you probably know what this is. That's all that this is. It's a standalone unit made for motorcycles that runs Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. When I say made for motorcycles, all that I really mean is that it's waterproof and it comes with a handlebar mount. I'm not using that handlebar mount. It's a 1-inch ram ball on the back, so I've adapted it to use with the mount that's made for this bike. So the name of the game here is cheap. This thing is cheap. 50 bucks on AliExpress. Yep, get you a 7-inch touchscreen, waterproof for 50 bucks on AliExpress. When I first discovered these units a few years back, I first wanted to see, okay, well, if this is a cheap Chinese copy, what did they copy? What is the premium product on the market that they copied? And honestly, I just couldn't find one. Now, since then, that was a few years ago, there's been a few brands that have come out and sort of positioned themselves in the market as being the premium products, such as like Carpuride, that's like $300+, or Chigi, which is $400 or $500+, and they're all pretty much the same thing. They're all made in China. They all do basically the same thing. This one, like those, you can add cameras, front and rear, and other sorts of accessories to make them even more expensive, but I didn't want that. I just got this one unit that I run Apple CarPlay and the apps that come with it. If you're not familiar with Apple CarPlay, there's one thing that you should know, and that's that you're sort of dependent upon how well the Apple CarPlay has been developed by that app developer. So for example, OnX is what I use primarily. OnX works really well, and that's because they cater mostly to the 4x4 crowd, and the 4x4s often have Apple CarPlay built in, or it's easy to add, whereas bikes, not many bikes have Apple CarPlay that come with it, right? Africa Twin, I think, has had it for a few years, maybe a couple others, but if you're not having that built in, you don't have a unit like this, you're probably not using CarPlay, so a lot of the bike-specific apps don't work really all that well, such as Rever. I used to use Rever a lot. I don't use Rever much anymore because the last time I used Rever, I couldn't even orient the map to the direction I was going. It would only do a north-south orientation, and so that was just something I was not willing to do. My backup for OnX is usually Gaia. Gaia usually works pretty well. Obviously, Google Maps, Apple Maps, all those work excellent because they're very highly developed. I also use Spotify to control my music. It doesn't have a speaker or a microphone. So if you want to listen to music, if you want to make a call, hear your text messages, that sort of thing, you got to pair a Bluetooth headset to it. So I use it with my Cardo. It pairs with my Cardo really well. I can also still use the Cardo commands like, hey Cardo, volume up, volume down, next song, that sort of thing. It works really well. So my main objective for getting this CarPlay unit was I wanted a big screen in front of me, but also I wanted to be able to keep my phone in my pocket, because with my phone mounted on my handlebars, I was afraid that one day I was going to have a bad crash and I was going to get separated from my bike, or the phone would get launched from the bike and I would need to call for help and not be able to find my phone. And so this way I can keep my phone in my jacket pocket or my pants pocket and have access to it whenever I need it. Obviously, if you're looking for a high quality premium product, there are some options out there today that are specifically made for motorcycles and motorcycle navigation. I think there's something out there that's built based on an Android tablet that is, I think G2G, I think makes it, and it is very high quality. There's even a handlebar remote to control it. You can even add a dongle to where it will read your bike speed and RPM and things like that. It has its own built-in GPS, stuff like that, but we're talking like $800+. If you're doing something serious like rally racing or traveling across the globe, hey, maybe that's something that you look into and it's worth it. But for me, as the casual rider, this $50 CarPlay unit, it does everything I need it to do. I do have a couple complaints about this specific unit. One of them being, it didn't come with a on-off button or switch. So you wire it to power, it's on. So obviously you're going to want to wire it to a switched power. I chose not to wire it to switch power related to my bike's key ignition switch because I didn't want to have it repair every time I turn the bike off and on. You know, sometimes you just stop for a second, you want to have the whole thing to repair again, even though it really doesn't take that long. So I added my own switch, which is this switch right here. I think it looks pretty good. It matches the factory switches really well and looks almost factory itself. I like this. However, this thing suffers from the weakness of my wiring skills, which are terrible. If you've seen in my videos the unit kind of shut off and reboot while I'm writing, well, that's because of dodgy wiring. I'm still trying to get it to where I can have vibration proof wiring. Another complaint is that during the brightest of bright times, especially if like the sun is coming in like right behind you, sometimes the screen doesn't really seem bright enough. Reflection's not too terribly bad, but it could be brighter. And on the flip side of that, if you're writing at night, you turn the brightness all the way down, sometimes it's still a little bit too bright. So adjustability could be better. I just wrote Adventure Palooza where I was writing like 6+ hours after dark and I survived. It was fine, but if I could have chosen to be dimmer, I definitely would have done that. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'm not going to include any links or anything to this specific product because number one, I'm not affiliated with them. Number two, most of the products are all the same. They're similar. They offer pretty much the same thing. I recommend finding one that has an on-off switch just to make your life a little bit easier when installing and wiring it up. That'll make it better, but just pretty much choose whichever one you want. Get one that's, I recommend a 7-inch if you're on an adventure bike. Maybe the 5-inch will be better for a small door sport, which I may do on the 501. I don't have anything set up on it yet, but yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments if you like this. Maybe you want to see more, maybe you want some more information. Let me know. Hit me up. Thanks.